Discuss and consider the North Newry Church rental request. And it says here that you have spoke with the property and casualty insurance company, risk management, about the church issues with the foundation and all that. And they strongly encourage us to require event insurance. To rent any of our buildings, and didn't you talk something with Redder, and they do that in Bethel, the
Tulip.
people that wanna rent it, get their own insurance.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, I can't remember what the price was,
$100 an event is what Retta told me.
They can get it, depending on what it is, but they can get it through get the homeowners to cover it, I
Yeah.
believe, if they wanted to, for an individual.
Yep.
okay, they have concerns about the foundation and renting the space until that is remediated. They've asked that we have an engineer inspect the building for safety. Thirdly, we talked with the fire marshals. Well, went on the main fire marshal's website and roughly calculated the church, assuming that the pews are not fixed, is a 15 square feet per person, which calculates to about 67 person capacity. Because there's only one way in or out. So you have to, there's only one way, so that could affect the capacity. The request of 50 people by Mr. Morton would be 74% of capacity. When only and this seems high, when only half an inch of the outside floor joists are sitting on the rock foundation for over a 6-foot section on the Branch Road side of the building.
So I went up there, I could put my finger through and feel the back side of the joist, and it's sitting on that rock wall by that much. So it's certainly gotten worse since 2018, and it's a long period. It's over 6 feet, it's doing that. And where the mortar is deteriorating between the rocks, there's nothing holding it up. I mean, I know it's only this much of a section, but there's quite a few sections of it. So,
So could we hire an engineer that would go up and see if it's structurally fit? Or do,
Was that an engineer that did the thing before, was it just I can't remember what it was, just somebody looking at it?
Yeah, I'm no engineer, it was Bo Bowden, house inspection.
Okay, yeah, I know what you're saying, yeah. I remember there was something on that, I couldn't remember all the
Yeah,
details.
we never went out and got an engineer. Jim tried to get Joe to go do it, and Joe declined, said that wasn't in his wheelhouse. Structures weren't in his wheelhouse, so we never did get an engineer, structural engineer.
Wonder if that's something Jim Cisco could look at.
Right.
He seemed to be feeling better than he was a while back. At the town meeting he did, he appeared to be.
Yeah, I wanna say that we asked him,
I was thinking we did
we
too.
did.
but I think that was right when he was first coming
Yeah.
into his sickness, and yeah, I think everybody declined us, and we didn't go outside of the region. And maybe Joe went up and said
Didn't want
something.
to stick his neck out.
Yeah, but said it's not the greatest to Jim, I think.
Well, maybe we see, give Jim Cisco a call, see if he might be up to take a look at that.
The problem is you can't get inside the foundation to see anything.
The back scuttle won't open?
That only gains you access under the stage.
Speaking
From the
of that,
stage to the front is,
just because I mowed the schoolhouse, there's an opening about this big, they
Yeah.
probably ought to have something over that to keep the varmints out from underneath it.
yeah,
That's the outhouse section.
No,
No.
it's underneath the side of the building on the,
Okay.
be the Route 2 side of the building, about halfway along, there's a hole about this square. That should have something to keep the raccoons and the squirrels and everybody out.
I think that was a vent for the wood stove.
Could have been, but I mean, it's not, I mean, to me, it looked like a good place for the,
Yeah. Yep, I've had it in the docket for a number of years now, haven't got to.
So what would you suggest?
With the church building, I wouldn't bother with Cisco, I'd go spend $300 or $400 on somebody from Auburn, North Conway, wherever the local guy is, and that way Jim doesn't feel pressured
one
to,
way or the other.
or call it better than it is, you know, it's,
Okay.
you know, that would be my route. That'd be my thoughts, is to get somebody from far enough away so they haven't got any ties, so that they'll
All right.
give us an unadulterated thought. I bet, I don't know what we'd be looking at, maybe towards 2,000, I don't know. If they charge a couple hundred an hour, band to band.
Is there something that we would probably have to do at some point anyways? For this building?
well, it depends on whether we fix the wall or not. I guess
No.
if the wall was fixed,
You
we
know, I
wouldn't need
mean,
to.
So I doubt we would have gone down this route if we could have found contractors to actually do the work that we had bidded out. Because we would have fixed the wall would have been fixed, you know, and then we would have moved on to the roof, we would have moved on, and as you're doing it, you would have found things that you otherwise wouldn't have, like you do with any kind of.
well, it goes back to what I had to say initially, when I looked into, the basement part of moving the building. And, that was a request that we thought we were going to, well, we had money there, $20,000 to do that if we were to do it. And then I said, well, okay, what are we gonna actually do with this building? And I thought it was actually gonna go to the townspeople as a question on one of the ballots, that what would you like to see done with this building? And then, of course, before that, and then it came up with the church committee, and we voted to go along with that route, but, so whatever we do with this building, whether we pay for it or somebody else pays for it, buys it, whatever, this structural engineer would have to come in and do this type of work at some point in time anyways, is what I'm saying.
So
Correct.
we had a building inspection done on the building in 2018 and identified all of the deficiencies that could be seen. And then we got a report on each one of them and prioritize them. That's when we started going out to bid for the work. and we have not been able to find anyone to do the work for this. We put it out to bid twice, and then COVID happened, because they had suggested that we go out to bid like right as COVID happened. And that is where we're at. Well, we have a list of the things that need to be done to the church. You got a copy of that, I believe, well, a couple months ago? And then we got a copy of the cost estimate, I wanna say maybe 6 months later, for each one of those deficiencies. And that was how we were budgeting for the church repairs. We just haven't been able to find anybody to do the work.
And the guy that, so we had Bo Bowden, house inspection guy, and then the cost estimator. The cost estimator had never been on site. The home inspector didn't feel it needed a structural engineer. It just needed to have the foundation repaired, so it was sufficiently supported. And they didn't feel we needed a full foundation. They thought we could find somebody that would replace the stone foundation and with like materials. So that's why we never batted around moving it, because we weren't gonna lift it up. We were just gonna try and replace it as it was. Nobody bit on that.
I would think one of the other options, if they didn't wanna fix the wall, would be to put some pylons every 6 feet or 4 feet, you know what I mean, underneath it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, take the rock wall out, put the pylons in, that would be cheaper than probably redoing the wall, but then of course the air would get underneath, but you didn't heat it anyway, so.
So I guess the conversation I had with risk management was, if you know that there are deficiencies within the church and they've gotten worse since we had the inspection done, we should probably at least have it inspected again before we rent it. Because we know that there's potentially liability there, and they're trying to avert that.
And maybe a structural engineer will give us a better idea of, yeah, you need to redo your whole foundation, or yeah, you can get away with just replacing this one wall. But if we did get a structural engineer, it would be nice to do something to get him under the whole building so that we could see what we had for rotten floor joists, or if there's any pillars underneath there now that are rotten somehow. That's the big unknown. We haven't opened it up to see
Could we
what
cut a hole? We already got a hole into under the stage.
Yeah,
Could we cut a hole out through to the rest of the building?
I would think we could through that stage petition thing. It's,
I mean, that can't be that thick, I wouldn't think.
no, I would think it's 2x4s, and I can't remember now, but I can't remember if it's plywood or boards.
Probably
underneath
boards,
there.
but-
Yeah, that's what I suspect.
You know, I think that might be the cheaper route to go in through that way
Yeah.
than trying to knock a hole through the
Yeah.
outside. But then again, you probably gotta find a contractor that's willing to do it. I don't know,
Maybe it'll take something like the little John Deere you got there, and reach in underneath there a couple feet and pull that little guy could get in, maybe he can get down in there and kinda look at it, you know, and maybe even if he didn't get all the way in.
I think 15 minutes with the Sawzall. We're in.
Yeah, that would probably do it too, cut a hole in the floor somewhere.
Well, no, so what we got is, you got the entry door, and then you got the seating, and then you have a little stage,
Yeah.
about a 4-foot wide stage,
Yeah.
6-foot wide stage. So the stage has a trap door that goes in to under the stage. When you go behind the building, there's,
There's a hole about like that.
Yeah.
that puts you under that same stage. So we gotta punch through that wall that's under the front part of the stage
Yeah.
to see what the rest of the foundation looks like. It almost looked like under the stage, they'd been keeping it better. It looked like there was more maintenance action that might have took place there because it was.
Easier to get to.
Yeah, and well, I jumped up and down on the floor and it didn't have a catastrophic breakdown on me. I mean, I didn't shiver the timbers that bad,
Yeah.
you know, not as bad when me and my two brothers would get shut off by my dad, but, you know, so I gave it a good, I didn't knock anything off the walls, but then I wanna say me and Bo Bowden that was a 250-pounder. We jumped up at the same time and
It didn't collapse,
didn't
right?
get much reaction, so it did. And when you walk in there, it doesn't feel like you're on the ocean. So it sort of led me to believe that it might have had some pillars or piers or piling underneath there but
Maybe there's already has anybody actually gone down and looked underneath the stage, gone through the trap door, and see if there was a way?
yes, yeah.
And there's no way to get out through
No.
there, unless you cut one.
There's not a lot of room there either, it's what, maybe 28 inches
Yeah,
clearance?
not much of a, that's about it, 2.5 feet or
Yeah.
something to Sawzall through.
Like you said, it can't be much more than a 2x4 wall and whatever they boarded it, so however fine that you know, what they framed it up with, but But I guess this is kind of getting away from, unless that's what the board feels like we have to fix it before we let people rent it out. And if that's the way we feel, then we have to either put it back out to bid to fix it, or
I think,
let the church, have we had anybody sign up for the committees?
Mhm.
I think before we spend a lot of money on it, we ought to find a direction that the building's gonna be going to for. Whether it's us, or it's somebody else, or
And
whatever.
that's where I was going with that initially. When I said, before we go and move this building and spend $20,000 on jacking it up, maybe we ought to figure out what the townspeople want to do with this building.
I know when we took it over, there was some discussion that quite a few of them didn't want to dump a lot of money into it. If we was gonna spend a lot of money on it, fixing it up and stuff, then they may not have voted to accept it. But that was, I don't know how many years ago, so people's minds might have changed now. And I think that's one reason why we decided we'd get this committee together, But if the committee's not gonna, you know, if we can't get anybody on the committee, then I think if we hire somebody to come in, an engineer to come in and look at it, I think someone should be cutting the hole so they can get under the whole thing. Cause I mean, if that's all rotted, then definitely we have to pick it up and do something else.
I wouldn't be a bit surprised if some rot around the steeple area in the bottom.
There's definitely water damage there.
Yeah, that steeple's been leaking for a while,
Yeah.
incoming water from the steeple
Outside
hole.
blowing in, you know.
Yeah, there's. The rope was rotten, so there's other stuff that's rotten up there, the bell rope was broken, so. There's everything from there.
Well, maybe we ought to, table the work on the church as far as town monies are concerned until there is enough people to form a committee. If there's not enough people to form a committee, then we'll go back, and it goes back to what the town's gonna do with the building.
Okay, so that still brings us to,
I would say we not to rent it out until we know what the building will take for use.
your thoughts on that, David?
Yeah, all avenues look like it's going to, not, liability wise and everything else, probably shouldn't rent out the building. With the conditions and the way things are going right now with it, I would deny the rental request.
Wanna make that a motion, or?
I'll make that a motion.
He's made it a motion.
I'll second it.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded that we hold off for any rental of the church until we have some of the repairs. Is it the repairs or?
Well, that's it. I mean, I don't know how you
I don't know if
guys,
it'd be repairs or we have a structural,
The direction that the church is gonna be going in.
yeah. Is it gonna be formed by a committee? And is a committee going to, make, recommendations to the selectmen on what should be done? Or is it, not gonna be enough committee members to form a church committee, which will then, I assume, bring it back to the town?
right. So how long do we wait to form this committee? I mean, how long do we leave it out there so that, to keep people, I mean, it's there, if we could use it, for what it's for, it's a catch-22 really, cause you wanna use it, but you wanna be safe.
It would
That's
be-
why there's usually a separation of church and state.
But,
It would be nice to have the town have its own church. It would be really nice to have a church that all the townspeople could go and say, this is our church, and be proud of it, and have functions there and potlucks and a sense of community togetherness. And that's what I would truly, really would hope for this building.
alright, so can you read back the motion, Amy?
I'm not sure. I have denied rental request for the church until a purpose is established by a committee or what? or a structural review of the building is done. I don't know.
Well, that's what I don't know.
That's what I heard. I heard that
Yeah.
until a purpose is established for the committee and,
We figured a year for the committee, am I right?
no, that was the other committee. This is
Okay.
an ongoing committee, so even when you get it fixed,
Somebody's gotta keep,
somebody's gotta keep saying, hey, this needs to be fixed, and this needs to be fixed. Hey, we'd like to do this with the building, we'd like to have, you know, a service there, we'd like, you know, if. I think that committee would evolve from, you know.
why don't we make that for, if the committee ever gets established, if they give us back a recommendation within 6 months or so. That,
Okay, but like, we gotta stick to the topic. The topic is, are we gonna rent out the church or not? If we're gonna rent the church out, I heard we're denying the rental request until a purpose established for the church by a committee. But that could be indefinite, because if we don't get committee members, then, you know, we gotta do something with
So
it.
give the committee a
let's-
deadline of a month or something to form a committee. If you don't form a committee within a certain time frame, then you don't have a committee and it reverts back to the town. That's, I don't know if that's the way you wanna do it, but that's just a suggestion.
yeah, I understand what you, I was kinda looking at it in a different point of view, but you're right. The committee needs, first we need to get established, and my thinking was, if we get a committee, then within, say, 6 months, they come back with some kind of what they think the building should be used
Sure.
for.
Absolutely, yeah.
But I was thinking a step ahead here, I guess.
Yeah.
Now can you read that back to what it
Yeah,
is?
sure. Deny rental request for church until a purpose for the church is established by the committee within a month.
The committee has to be in
Established.
effect within a month,
Right.
yeah.
And I think along with that, that we need to really make sure that we get the word out, I mean, to the townspeople somehow.
Well, we
Other than what
got,
we have been, maybe if it's even putting it in the paper or
we
something.
we got an election coming up, we can post it somewhere that we're looking, but it probably.
That's what
won't
we've
make any-
been doing
I know,
every
I know,
election.
it hasn't worked so far.
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
All right, so we had a motion that's been moved and seconded. And hopefully there's no further discussion, because we could go around and around and around on this and not really get anywhere, but, I guess I'll call for a vote.
Read the motion back, please.
Deny rental request for the church until a purchase for the church is established by the North Newry Church Committee within a month.
That almost sounds like they gotta come back with a recommendation within a month.
I think the purpose of this
Say to
is that they
establish
would
a
be
committee.
established within a month.
right,
Yes,
establish a committee.
that's what I'm thinking, I just, maybe I'm reading into it wrong here, but anyway.
Do you have established a committee in there?
If we get the committee established, then maybe we can
Yeah.
move forward with some of this other stuff.
Deny rental request for the church until a purpose for the church is established by a committee that will be established within a month.
Okay. I got that into my thick head.
Can I make that a motion?
Well, that is,
That
was
is the motion.
that is the motion, and it's been moved and seconded.
Okay.
So I guess I'll call for a vote, all those
In favor.
In favor.
in favor? Do we wanna go through these CEO, all the, selectmen's report, committee reports, administration these before we go into